Now, what do you do when you're in a situation that your spouse has so hurt you and insulted you, damaged your pride, emasculated you if you're a man, rubbish your self-esteem, but yet you would like to revive and restore your marriage, your relationship? I was speaking to such a guy last week, and he is in he has a marriage crisis on his hand. Things have actually exploded to the point where sometimes there was a little bit of physical jostling, but more so, there has been exchange of words, of insults that, in a way, has done almost irreparable damage. As I spoke to him about different ways, different strategies that can be employed to get over this hump. It's not a massive hump, this massive issue that they have, and strategies that can be employed. He said to me, Hilton, what you're saying, I understand, I agree, it's 100% on point. And then he said, but when I think about the things she has said, and he even went to the point where he made an analogy. He said that she has slapped him, he has thrown him down, stamped him in his chest, and walked on his face. I had to clarify, are you speaking about physical? He said, no, not really. He's not talking about physical, but that's the way he feels about the insults, the things that she has said. And it really wounded his pride and his self-esteem. His sense of worth has been questioned. What do you do? How do you overcome this? And sometimes, as people like myself that support people in conflicted relationship, that is high conflict, that is in crisis situation, it's really very difficult. We cannot begin to even imagine the pain and anguish and hurt that these people have suffered. And because we're objective, many times we probably have an attitude to just get over and done with it. I want to share with you a couple of ideas that could help. One of the things you definitely mustn't do is to have a pity party. One of the things that I encourage you not to do is to give in to the feelings, to ruminate on them, to to have a victim mentality about them. And while they are hurtful, and we must validate the hurt, the emotional hurt that and damage that you've experienced, and it is important. We don't want to minimize them or nullify them. It's important that you acknowledge these. What is dangerous is for you to succumb to them, for you to give in to them, for you to take these as probably evidence to show that, look, it's irredeemable. Because what you focus on amplifies and intensifies and magnifies. A decade or two ago, experts were suggesting to people that whatever feeling they have, they must vent them. If you're angry, vent your anger, punch your pillows. Don't punch people, but punch your pillows and express yourself. And what they soon found is that people who were angry or expressed their anger became even angrier. And that's the point I would like to say, that if you give in to these feelings, you become more and more of these feelings will snowball and grow. You'll become resentful, you'll become bitter. You get to the point where you want to take revenge, you want to make sure this person understands how you feel, you want to give as good as you get, and ultimately you will destroy each other like an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Both of you will become eyeless and toothless. What do we do instead? What do we do instead? We do the slight opposite. One of the things that happens is that when you are hurt, you begin to look for evidence of the type of person who hurt you. So you begin to caricaturize this individual as the type of person who's hateful, that person becomes the enemy, and you pigeonhole them as that. And there is a term that we use called a negative sentiment override. we demonize the person. And it's easy to do. It's easy to do, especially if they have hurt us. And everything they do, we filter it through the perception that we have. And a man's perception is his reality and his feelings are his facts. So we see everything they do. They could do nothing right. Everything is filtered. Even if they do something that is right, that is wonderful, we begin to suspect that they are pretending. And so we want to change that perception. It is important also that we must look beyond the presenting behavior. Whatever behavior that has been presented to you, you need to perhaps, like a mom who looks beyond the crying and the tantrums and the negative behavior of her child, and she may even say, oh, that's because he's hungry, he hasn't had his dinner, he hasn't had his afternoon nap, and they rationalize it because they know that behind behavior there is some kind of need for the child. The child may be hungry. Again, the child might be tired and irritable. The child may not have the words to express him or herself. Hence, they act up and act out. And while this may be difficult for you to understand, behind every behavior, behind every action, however negative it is and however it has impacted you in such a damaging way, behind that are feelings and emotions. And behind the feelings and emotions are needs. It's almost sometimes you say a hungry man is an angry man because he's hungry, he hasn't eaten for such a long time. He becomes irritated, frustrated, and anything unsettles him, and he begins to act out and lash out. Those are just symptoms of the hurt or the hunger that we don't see. And if we engage with the anger, we miss the whole point. How do you do this? It's a real challenge, isn't it? Especially if you're hurting. You begin to understand that maybe that person is hungry for your attention, hungry and starving for your love, for your care. And they feel vulnerable, and sometimes they react in counterproductive ways, which alienates you rather than encourages you to give them what they really want. And I say to people, if you are in a situation where there's a lot of conflict, I could 90% of the time say that your spouse actually want to be with you. That is why they're fighting with you. If they really want to end the relationship, they would. You need to be very careful of this when they go silent, when they shut down, when they disengage, when nothing bothers them. That's the more dangerous side of your conflict. But while there is high intensity conflict, I know that there is a lot of hurt that is below that. And what we need to do is to try to explore that. And a more difficult point for you to accept is that perhaps you are doing things too that trigger them. As much as they trigger you, as much as they trigger you, and the worst part of you come out, there are things that you might have done or said innocently or otherwise, and maybe even intentionally when you're upset, that equally hurts them, that cause them to respond and react in ways that are ugly, in ways that are counterproductive, in ways that we don't like. And so let's look beyond what I call the presenting behavior and try to see perhaps there is a need. And then finally, I want to say that you offer an olive branch. Now, again, we don't want to, in any way, shape, or form, deny your feelings. We want to validate your feelings and accept that's the way you feel. You feel hurt. You feel angry. You feel shame. You feel embarrassed by the things that I've said. Yes, those are valid feelings. but we feel the feelings and we intentionally act in a way that is right. So we ask the question, what is the right thing to be done? What's the right thing to be done for you, for him or her, and for the relationship? And we operate from this higher stage and plane where your higher self, if you're Christian, your Christian self comes out. And I like what it says in the Bible, where Jesus said that you must love your enemies. You must do good to them that hate you. You must pray for those who hurt you. And you must bless them that curse you. In other words, the antidote to all of these things is to do opposite. And perhaps you might want to start with one thing at a time. You might even during that time in a very safe environment. It cannot be had right now. You could get an expert to facilitate that, where you explore your hurt and they explore their hurt. You explore what you would have preferred and what you would want done now in order to move forward, in order to resolve the conflict. And so it would look like when you said X, Y, and Z, it really shred my heart to pieces. And I felt so embarrassed and ashamed. I would have preferred if you didn't say that. And then you all need to ask and answer the question, what could I do now that would make you feel better? What could I do now? And it could be an apology. It could be expressing that you were frustrated at that time. And the things you said, you didn't intend for them to hurt like that. And you said them at a point where you are sorry that you said them. You need to apologize that you said them. And you ask for forgiveness. And they would ask for forgiveness. And you would, in that environment, resolve and put to bed whole way of doing things and bury the hurt and resolve to move forward, avoiding hurting each other like that, and putting in place strategies that would not just avoid, but would encourage bonding, love, and growth. I don't know where you are in your relationship, and I don't know what's happening, but if you're in a place where you have locked horns, you've done all that you can do possibly, and you don't know what to do and how to move forward, and you need some support with this, please feel free to get in touch with me and book a session, and let me see if I can support you in reconnecting, regenerating, and restoring your relationship. Talk soon and stay hopeful. Remember, if you and your spouse are fighting, there is a high chance that the both of you still want each other, still want the relationship, but you're fighting for connection. Keep hope alive.